Mr. Ustinov, I understand you're in London for a particularly demanding role this time, aren't you?
Yes, I'm playing a part with a frog called Kermit.
That does sound
and
very
a bear
difficult.
and various other highly expressive things of that sort.
Are they particularly difficult to work with?
No, they're not difficult to work with, but of course, as actors are always warned not to appear with animals or children, I think it is. People who can't be blamed for whatever they do.
Are we going to reveal at any stage that these animals that you're working with are puppets?
Yes, I think we are. They're puppets. They're these very ingenious American puppets that first appeared on Sesame Street. And I begin to understand now why the old Italian comedy had masks and why the Greeks had masks, because they're really more expressive than human faces, because your imagination works for them. It's really like listening to radio. It's like watching radio. That's what it is.
What kind of parts do you play with Kermit the Frog and Fuzzy Bear?
Thank God I've got an opportunity to get my own back, because I play a robot, and therefore I really try to out-puppet them. It's not easy, though.
Do you win?
I'm not prepared to give you... I mean, this is not a rigged fight, you know.
But don't you also play a psychiatrist at some stage? What happens
Yes.
then? What does a psychiatrist have to say to puppets?
You're very well informed. We have a panel, and it's a very, very surrealist kind of format. I find it absolutely hysterical, the two or three I've seen.
Do you find, in fact, I mean, this is not the first time, obviously, that you've worked for children. Do you find it more easy or more difficult than doing straight plays for adults?
Working for... I don't think this is really for children. I think this is... I think it appeals to a very sophisticated audience. Very often children are, of course, extremely sophisticated by instinct. I remember how I suffered as a child being taken to things that my parents thought were suitable for me. Usually things about Trader Horn, the jungle, and so on. I didn't sleep for nights afterwards. Been much better to take me to an adult production I didn't understand. At least I wouldn't have had nightmares.
Well, for somebody who has done quite a lot of work for children and for adults, obviously, what do you think? What do you think the sort of thing that children really want to see?
Oh, I don't really know. I mean, that's a thing of endless fascination, because one's always guessing. And one's always aiming a little bit too low, I think. I know children. I went to lecture at my old school the other day, and I realized in question time how very low I'd aimed my whole lecture. They're much more intelligent now than we were at that age. And children have a tremendous capacity of taking you by surprise, because really children very often speak the same language as very old people. That's not because the old people are in second childhood. It's because the old people, having lived their lives, have distilled everything down to a kind of pure form, which is exactly the same language as children again, and we listen to them as though it's the voice of wisdom. If a child says the same thing, we say, shut up, don't bother us now, we're talking. I'll come and read you a story afterwards.
What kind of language do the puppets speak? Do they speak American, or do they speak Russian, or which one of the many languages that you speak?
Oh, they speak American. And usually with very... But they are a comment on human types, as of course that's a subject of endless fascination. That's why people begin to look like their dogs and their wives and things like that. We are attracted. There's an undertow which gives us the same expression of whatever we live with. That's why I bought an old English sheepdog, because I didn't see why I shouldn't start out looking like what I bought. It saves a lot of trouble and adjustment.
Who reminds you of, or who does Kermit the Frog remind you of?
I don't think Kermit the Frog reminds me of he reminds me of different people at different times. But they also have humans, of course, who are absolutely brilliant, because they're usually a head with glasses and one hand which works. But they have the most extraordinary expressive qualities. They remind you of about 15 people you know, and not always like, but they're very lovable.
They sound it. Thank you very much for coming in and telling us about them.
Well, thank you.